Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Joan Vassos admits feeling like a cheater moving on. The Golden Bachelorette star, Joan Vassos, discusses some of her challenges with dating and multiple men at that, on reality TV. While her heart is still tied to her first husband, she is having a difficult time. Specifically, she admits she feels like a cheater after moving on to a new man. Joan Vassos has her work cut out for her. Although it is exciting for Joan Vassos to be the first ever Golden Bachelorette, she struggles with some feelings that surfaced during filming. Not only is it difficult to get out of her comfort zone and date 24 men at once, but she is also grieving. Undeniably, the lineup of fashionable men is easy on the eyes, but it comes with torture for Joan's soul. However, she isn't giving in on the Bachelor Nation process that easily. Even so, she is battling a deep-seated feeling of being a cheater to her first husband John. Joan Vassos admits feeling like a cheater moving on. Undoubtedly, Joan Vassos cherishes the time she spent with her husband of 32 years, Joan Vassos. Without a doubt, she thought he was a stand-up guy. However, she lost him to pancreatic cancer in 2021 amid the COVID-19 pandemic. As such, she wasn't able to properly grieve his death. Joan told People, "My husband passed away during COVID, and I really didn't embrace the whole mourning thing." Admittedly, the 61-year-old did her best to pick herself up and keep moving. She says, "I was in charge of being strong. I just buckled down and ignored it." When Joan started meeting the men on the Golden Bachelorette, she was building new relationships and was quickly blindsided by ambushing feelings of cheating. She says, "I had to face it." Although she had sought out grief counseling, many groups were not available during the pandemic. After filming began, she says, "It was in my face that I was feeling really guilty, honestly, about having feelings for somebody else." Unmistakably, as she opened her heart again, it was simultaneously breaking. Admittedly, she says, "I almost felt like I was cheating on John, which is crazy because he's passed away." John gave Joan a gift. Although the process of offering her heart to someone new has been difficult for Joan Vassos, she shares a beautiful gift from her late husband. Before passing, he told her, "I want you to find somebody. You are the greatest wife in the world. I don't want you to be alone. I want you to find somebody." Even with his permission, she still holds guilt about moving on. However, she explains that the Golden Bachelorette's team of psychiatrists helped her overcome some of her hesitations. She says, "They said, you don't have to let go of John." Further easing her mind, they add, "Picture it like this. You have two balloons, one in each hand, and John is in a balloon in this hand, and your potential person that you're going to fall in love with in this hand. You don't have to let go of him from this hand to pick this one up and have a life with this one." Admittedly, it was the picture she needed to allow herself to explore, and it was such a good lesson. Joan Vassos accepts the process of grief. Since Joan Vassos gave herself space to breathe and understand, it is a situation of more, not instead. She was able to talk with the suitor about her husband. Joan confesses, "You're trying to establish a relationship with somebody else. You don't want to talk about your deceased spouse, but keeping his memory alive didn't seem like I was being weird." Likewise, she describes, "I felt comfortable finally doing it. I talked about how funny he was and stuff like that, and I feel like the guys really appreciated that." But her positive light on her spouse gave room for her suitors to be vulnerable about their previous spouses as well. She adds, "It opened up the door to talk about people that were really important parts of your lives." Furthermore, now she better understands how grief works for her. She says, "You can't ignore it. It's going to be there. Talking about it and letting it out makes it more almost joyful. Freedom through acceptance." While it was scary for Joan Vassos to unlock her grief, it was therapeutic. She reflects, "I went from not being able to think about him or even having a picture in my house that I could see every day. I had pictures in the guest room and other parts of the house I don't see every day, to the point where now I'm feeling so much better about it." Now, she feels free to share his memory. Then she adds, "Putting his name on a bench or planting a tree, none of these things are good enough." Further sharing, "So I said, you know what I think he would like the most? Is that you don't forget him. Tell me stories. It doesn't hurt me anymore. It makes me happy." Joan Vassos stood at the edge of the bustling cafe, the familiar aroma of freshly brewed coffee swirling around her. She absent-mindedly stirred her cup, the clinking of the spoon echoing her thoughts. Today marked a significant milestone. 2 years since she had made the hardest decision of her life. She could almost hear the whispers of doubt that had accompanied her every step since then. "Are you really ready to let go?" the voice in her head often asked, a nagging reminder of what she had left behind. She glanced out the window, watching couples laugh and share intimate moments, their hands entwined. In the world outside, love appeared simple, effortless. But Joan knew better. Her journey was littered with jagged edges and hidden scars. For the longest time she had equated love with loyalty. To her, moving on felt like a betrayal, not just to the memories of her past, but to the love she had once vowed to cherish. It was as if she had betrayed a part of herself. The weight of her choices pressed heavily on her chest, a constant reminder that she had loved deeply and lost painfully. Yet today was different. As she sipped her coffee, a warmth spread through her, something akin to hope. Joan had started seeing someone new, an artist named Leo. Their first encounter was unremarkable, 2 strangers reaching for the same book in a dusty little bookstore. Their fingers brushed and sparks ignited in a way that she had thought was reserved for fairy tales. Leo was everything she hadn't expected. Wild-haired, paint-splattered, with an easy laugh that had a way of disarming her. He understood art in a way she couldn't articulate. He saw beauty in the broken. Slowly she found herself drawn to him, not just because of his passion, but because he seemed to embrace life without the chains of regret. As their relationship blossomed, so did the inner turmoil within Joan. She reveled in their late-night talks and impromptu adventures, but felt like she was straddling 2 worlds, the one that cherished her past and the one that was urging her forward. Guilt washed over her like a cold wave. How could she allow herself to love again? "Joan, it's okay to be happy," her best friend Mia had said, her tone gently insistent. "You're not erasing your past, you're just creating new memories." But Joan couldn't shake the feeling of being a cheater. Not just in love, but in the very fabric of her identity. On one hand, there was a sense of freedom in exploring this new connection, but on the other, it felt like a betrayal to the love that had once consumed her. The guilt gnawed at her, especially when she caught herself laughing too freely or daydreaming about a future that didn't include her past partner. One rainy afternoon, as they lounged on Leo's worn couch, a painting half finished on the easel beside them, Joan found herself staring at the strokes of color, the vibrant hues reminding her of everything she was trying to leave behind. Leo caught her gaze and, sensing her distance, gently placed his hand over hers. "What's on your mind?" he asked, his voice soft but penetrating. Joan hesitated, the weight of her thoughts threatening to spill over. I feel like I'm cheating," she finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "On my past, on the memories I had." Leo's expression shifted to one of understanding, the corner of his mouth curling into a sympathetic smile. "You're not cheating, Joan. You're evolving. Every moment you lived before shaped you into who you are now. It's okay to embrace the future." His words sank in, but they did little to quell the storm within her. Even as she drew closer to Leo, a lingering shadow followed her, an echo of the life she had once known. Would her laughter feel hollow to those who had known her best? Would they see her as a traitor for moving on? That evening, Joan picked up her phone and scrolled through old photos. Smiling faces stared back at her, moments of joy frozen in time. She couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness. They represented a chapter that had closed, yet they also showed a version of herself that had loved fiercely. Could she hold onto those memories while still allowing herself to love again? In the days that followed, Joan confronted her fears head-on. She and Leo visited art galleries, each brushstroke igniting a new conversation, each gallery evoking new emotions. The more time she spent with him, the more she realized that her heart could expand, not fracture. Love didn't have to be an either-or choice, it could be a continuum. One evening, as they walked through a sun-drenched park, Leo turned to her, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "I've been thinking about doing a collaborative painting," he said, "something that blends your style with mine." The suggestion caught her off guard. "What do you mean?" she asked, her curiosity piqued.